5 Disciplines of Peter Senge by Daniela, Henry, and Kathleen. All these 5 disciplines must be employed in a never-ending quest to expand the capacity of the organization to create its future. Learning organizations are those organizations that can go beyond survival learning to perform generative learning, a form of learning that enhances their capacity to create. Team learning. The process of aligning and developing the capacities of a team to create the results its members truly desire. Members suspend personal assumptions and start creating group awareness and group thinking. People need to be able to learn together so they can act together. Fostering learning. Some examples such as job rotation, open access to statistical data, management information systems are learning sources inside of organizations. Benchmarking, customer panels, analysis of the press, and joint ventures are learning sources outside of the organizations. Collective rewards, management by objectives, free spaces for learning, creates an environment conducive to learning. Building shared vision. A vision that many people are truly committed to because it reflects their own personal vision. Shared vision is vital for learning organizations because it provides the focus and energy for learning. A shared vision is the ability of a group to create a picture based on collective beliefs for a desired future that its members seek to create. When this vision is created, it is more likely that employees strive to learn and excel because they feel they are part of it. This is an example of extrinsic. Many shared visions are extrinsic. They focus on achieving something relative to an outsider, such as a competitor. Pepsi's shared vision is to beat Coca-Cola. This is an example of intrinsic. John F. Kennedy changed the extrinsic vision of beating the Russian in space to an intrinsic vision for Americans in his famous speech declaring we would put a man on the moon by the end of the 60s. Mental models. Deeply ingrained assumptions, generalizations, or even pictures and images that influence how we understand the world and how we can take actions. Mental models is comparing new ideas with internal images of how the world works. These, if in contrast, can prevent the former idea from being turned into reality. It is imperative for an organization to foster openness among its people and provide guidance in the right direction in order to prevent mental models from limiting the organization's ability to put new ideas into practice.
There are several skills useful in identifying, examining, and updating mental models. Noticing when we jump from observation to generalization. Articulating what we normally don't say. Balancing questioning and advocating our models, and facing up to the distinctions between what we think and say and what we actually do. These allow us to expose and investigate our assumptions or mental models about important business issues. Problems with mental models occur when they become rigid, thus unable to adapt to changing reality, or when they leave out vital pieces of information in their simplified model of the world. A prime example is, once again, Coca-Cola. In the 1980s, taste tests showed that consumers preferred the sweeter taste of Pepsi, which was making tremendous inroads on Coke's market. Coke's marketing team came up with a brilliant idea, redesign Coca-Cola to make it sweeter, since customers prefer sweeter sodas. Thus, the infamous introduction of New Coke, which taste tests indeed showed was favored over both Pepsi and the original Coke. However, this mental model of their market failed to account for the historic image behind the brand. Customers were outraged that the company was messing with a classic. The old formula was returned to market a mere 3 months later, and New Coke slowly faded into obscurity, except as a caveat to marketing departments. Senge's discipline, personal mastery. In personal mastery, an individual focuses his energy, develops patience, and openly and honestly sees reality as it exists in order to further his or her understanding of that reality. Organizational learning depends on the individuals within it having this discipline and cannot exist otherwise. Having a very clear and objective personal vision of how things should be and what the reality actually is helps the individual determine the gap between the vision and reality, motivating him to learn in active pursuit of continuous improvement. Nobel Award winner Richard Feynman was a prime example of personal mastery. He spent his entire life continuously looking for new and interesting ideas and concepts, and exploring new fields, from his beloved physics to art, travel, music, and teaching. He saw potential in everything. His Nobel Award-winning research was sparked by his observation of the wobble in a spinning dinner plate thrown by a student in a food fight. Senge's fifth discipline, systems thinking. This is the conceptual cornerstone of Senge's approach. He found this so vital that he named his book The Fifth Discipline rather than The Five Disciplines, since it inherently contains the other four. Systems thinking is the discipline that recognizes the interconnection between parts that make up a whole, or a system. Organizations are complex systems composed of many interrelated components. These key components dynamically interact with each other to give life to the system that they comprise. Managers within an organization must understand the impact long-term and short-term, focusing on the long-term. They must learn to think at the systems level rather than the individual components. Changing one may dynamically change a number of other components. An example of systems thinking is the allegory of the blind men and the elephant. 5 blind men are introduced to an elephant for the first time. One touches its leg and declares this elephant is rather like a tree. Another finds an ear and states that it's more like a fan. The third grabs the tail. No, more like a rope. The fourth discovers the elephant's side and decides it's most like a wall, while the last, holding the trunk, insists it's very like a snake. Now imagine a company asked to build a model of an elephant, with as wildly differing and limited views from each department. If a single view wins out over the others, the final model will be a dismal failure. What is needed is an integrating view to bring all these different views and pieces of the elephant together into a coherent whole. Similarly, systems thinking itself integrates all 5 of Senge's disciplines, personal mastery, mental models, shared vision, and team learning, to create a learning organization.